Are we good to start? Okay, well, I'm going to start regardless. Okay, so my name is Aric Toler, and this is Sarah Yee. And I'm with Bellingcat. I wear two hats. I wear the Bellingcat hat most of the time, and I also wear the DFRLab hat as well. And together, every week, we do 2 or 3 on a busy week Minsk monitor pieces a week. And we do daily, not daily, but weekly reporting on the going-ons of Minsk, or the adherence of the Minsk agreements in eastern Ukraine. We do 2 major Times reports. We do kind of the so-called count the beans kind of reporting of the statistics, ceasefire violations, where the hot spots, where the cold spots, where it's improving, where it's not, and so on. We also do heavy weapons, yes, the deployment of heavy weapons and violations of the Minsk agreement. And also with thematic reports, where we look at larger issues as they relate to the Minsk agreement. For example, types of drones and UAVs used in the war, types of anti-aircraft missile systems that the separatists and Ukrainians have deployed and used in training exercise and things like that, especially as it relates to violations of the Second Minsk Agreement.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to talk today about fake news in the Frontline is our title. And we're going to talk about how in eastern Ukraine, we talk about fake news all the time, right? And a lot of times it's very abstract kind of attack on democracy and whatever things, but in eastern Ukraine, the stakes are a lot higher, because with fake news, it does more than just kill the truth. Is my sappy, bombastic headline there. It does more than just kill the truth, but also it can have actual real-world impact, and real violence and real distrust in very, very important institutions can come about because of this fake reporting from both misrepresented or falsified information from both separatist Russians and Ukrainian media. And so today we're going to be talking about disinformation as it relates to the OSCE, the neutral civilian
monitoring mission in eastern Ukraine.
On our monitoring mission in eastern Ukraine, and some examples of fabrications or misreporting false information from both separatist/Russian sources. I'll just call them separatists from now on, because I'll have 20 Russian-backed separatists who are led, but separatists. It means Russian/separatists, and Ukrainian sources as well. I'll let you go to next.
So most recently, the so-called Luhansk People's Republic claimed that the OSCE SMM, the civilian neutral monitoring mission, attacked so we had LNR militants harassing monitors after a disinformation campaign about Ukrainian Constitution Day happened in a small town.
Yeah, and this is, you may be thinking, who cares? If you can read Russian, you can see right here that the Luhansk Information Center, which is kind of the official news portal / if you have a pessimistic view, disinformation portal of the so-called Luhansk People's Republic, they published a headline, and also the next day they called for an investigation where they said that the neutral, I underline in bold the word neutral.
The investigation, they called for the organization they were accusing to investigate this case.
They investigate themselves, yes.
Yes.
It doesn't make sense. And they said that the OSCE went around to separatist Russian-held villages and wished them a happy Ukrainian Constitution Day, which, of course, is the gravest of all offenses, but they frame this in the sense of these OSCE monitors, they are not neutral, they are not civilians, they are just the stooges of the West and of the Ukrainian government.
Yes.
But it's anything but that.
So this is to support the SMM's neutrality. The Ukrainian Armed Forces announced that the new SMM patrol base in Popasna was shelled by the separatists. It did not happen. SMM promptly issued a fact-check response, ever proving their neutral stance and not propagating the Ukrainian side.
Yeah, exactly. And here you see this is on June 30th, and if you go back to that, again, if you read Russian, the same day that the so-called Luhansk People's Republic made this clearly fabricated news about the OSCE wishing a happy Constitution Day to the good citizens of the Luhansk People's Republic. That same day, the OSCE put out a correcting some misreported, or I don't know if it's purposeful or not, information from the Ukrainian anti-terrorist operation about a separatist shelling of a base. And this shelling did not happen, and the OSCE, as they are neutral, corrected the record as relates to Ukrainian news. Okay, so let's look at some examples as it coming from the so-called separatist republics and from the Ukrainian media. So here's an egregious example. So there's some disinformation on both sides, but it's definitely weighted way more heavily to one side than the other. And Edward Basurin, who's the spokesperson of the DNR's military, he is, I know, it's kind of a meme almost because he has the most ridiculous stories. So he, out of thin air, almost out of thin air, said that there was an Islamic battalion that arrived in Mariupol. They seized the port in Mariupol, which is a key coastal city in eastern Ukraine that's held by the Ukrainian government.
One of the largest hotspots in the conflict.
Exactly, and one of the, probably the most key city in the conflict right now because the separatists are maybe 10, 20 kilometers away right now. And they said that this Islamic battalion seized the port and now they're facilitating chemical trade to unnamed Muslim countries. They're more or less saying Ukraine is ISIS, is what they're saying more or less without actually saying it. But the thing is this, like most fake news, there's a tiny, tiny, tiny little grain of truth in here and then a gigantic, to use an awful metaphor, a field of lies, right, from a grain of truth. The grain of truth is that there is a 250-person volunteer battalion, the Oscar battalion, and there are Crimean Tatars. Yeah, Crimean Tatars, and they have a long blockade on the Crimean line. They're pro-Ukraine, Crimea is Ukraine, etc. And there were rumors that there was going to be an integration of this 250-person volunteer battalion, the majority of which were Muslim, but plans fell through. It didn't happen. And this 250 volunteer battalion in Crimea turned into a 500-person ISIS force that seized Mariupol's port.
And was facilitating trade.
Yeah. Yeah.
So interestingly with this, so looking at who is targeted at, here are Ukrainian responses to this Islamic battalion. And if you can read it.
This is from a local group in Mariupol, which is the people they're targeting with this propaganda.
Yeah. They are sarcastically saying, oh no, I can't go outside of my house. This is, and the commander of this battalion, his name was Karpenko.
Which is
the Islamic battalion leader, Karpenko, which is a very Ukrainian name. So, yeah, the target audience was not convinced.
Yeah. So something to think about with this fake news stuff. Like, so who are the target audiences? Yes, we can count as many fake news and bots and all that stuff if you want. But what's the actual impact and what is the actual reaction for the people who are targeted by this? It'll be different in different markets. But at this point, Basurin, the Edward Basurin, the spokesperson for the DNR, he has no credibility from anyone who would not be convinced already. People who believe him, you're not swaying them. They're the hardliners, right?
Yeah.
And here's an example of some misreporting from Ukrainian media.
Запеклі бої на Світлодарській дузі. Бойовики пішли у наступ. Тричі намагалися вибити з позицій українських військових. Обидві сторони зазнали значних втрат. Штаб АТО повідомляє про 5 загиблих та 6 поранених українських бійців.
Бойовики пішли в атаку близько 6 ранку. Армійців підняли за тривогою. Противник щільним вогнем накривав українські позиції з артилерії та мінометів.
Okay, so this is a video that was posted that the Kanal Ukraina, which is one of the largest television channels in Ukraine, said that this was fighting that happened in Svitlodarsk arc, which is outside of the Baltova by Lugansk. It was in December 2016. It was a super, super hot spot. Dozens of people died on both sides. And it was one of the hottest hotspots since the fighting the Baltova in February 2015. Okay, so here's one of their sources from the video. You see right here, it's the same black and white, poo, 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 right? You can't really tell anything, right? If you want to verify stuff, it's pretty hard to verify this because you can't see anything, right? And if you read, English or Russian at the bottom, it says Svitlodarskaya Arc, battle, December 18, 2016. Well, take a screenshot of this. This is where the methodology training comes in. Take a screenshot of this because you can't reverse search a video, but you can reverse search screenshots of it, and you can find the thumbnails of those. And so YouTube automatically generates thumbnails for every video, and you can search for those thumbnails which come up. You can't search for the video, but you can look for fragments of it. And see right here, and you find a whole bunch of non-Russian, non-Ukrainian text. So that should make you suspicious. Maybe this isn't actually Ukraine. Okay, but if you look at this, so you see this video, black and white, heavily distorted. It actually, if you keep on digging, it's originally night vision. Green, black, white.
Ukraine spelled wrong.
And of course, Ukraine is spelled wrong. And this says firefight in Shirokinya, which is a totally different, it's like 100 kilometers away from Svitlodarskaya. And also May 1st, 2015. So it's at least a year and a half old. Okay, let's keep going. Night vision attack in Iraq in 2013. And fighting in Fallujah 2004. Oh my God, this is ancient. Killing al-Qaeda in Iraq. And even in Syria. So this one video seems to show about 20 different armies fighting against 30 other groups, right? But it actually is none of those. It actually is from 2009, and it's somewhere in Utah or Nevada. I can't. If you can read it better than I can. Just people playing airsoft out in the woods. And what they did with this, in order to distort this, most time people do fake news are lazy. What they did, they took this video, they zoomed in on it, they flipped it horizontally 180 degrees, and they added the filter of the black and white. So at this point, it's a totally, if you have this is the real original video, like an HD, and this is what it looked like after all the filters. Right? So this was reported by one of the largest TV news in Ukraine, and it's just some guys playing. And they did the part of the video where they are not yelling English, and they're just yelling, whoa, 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 whoa. You can't hear any actual words being said.
So here we have a Ukrainian MP posting a video that gets 263,000 views, allegedly showing firing in Svitlodarsk.
In the same zone
Same
of operation,
area.
what happened? Yeah. So both these videos are posted at more or less the same time.
So in the video,
Yeah, here's one of the sources that the Ukrainian MP pulled from, and it gives the same information.
and then when you see it
Yeah,
later,
if you see the laser here, you see 2012 Kavkaz Uchonya.
which is a Russian military exercise
No, from 2012.
pre-Ukrainian war.
Yeah, so it's at this point, at least they're in the same area, right? It's not in Utah, but still it's way off. This is not fighting in Svitlodarsk. It's a military exercise with no actual fighting going on in Russia from 4 years before. And the thing that should have clued you off when you listen to, if you actually were to listen to the video and watch it, the soldiers are laughing and like crying out in joy as they're firing because they're having these 20-20-year-old Russian soldiers are having a great time doing the exercises at night.
They're not fighting.
So you probably should have been tipped off by that, because if you're actually fighting and threat of possibly dying, you're not having a grand old time probably firing like that. Before Yelena comes up. So what we're trying to say here is that with misinformation, it comes from everyone, but it comes to various degrees, right? Not all fake news, not all misinformation is created equal. Sometimes it's honest mistakes. Sometimes it's just not doing your due diligence and verifying stuff. Sometimes it's a phantom ISIS battalion seizing Mariupol. And sometimes it's just a recycled video that you didn't spend the time to check. But regardless of what it is, it still degrades the public trust in the media if you share this fake information, and it can degrade trust in institutions like the OSCE, which are constantly harassed because you have constant misinformation coming out that they're
It's now
partisan.
becoming more and more directed towards them.
Exactly. Now that you see videos of them following them in cars and filming them and trying to humiliate them, it's a mess. Okay, I think that's it. So now, do we have time for Q&A?
Not really.
Okay, I'll take that as a no. Take that as a no. Okay, well, you can talk to us later if you want. Okay, thanks.